Hello, how are you? Thank you for stopping on my video. My name is Becky and this is BecxReadz. I post videos every 5 days and if I can manage, I will squeeze some in between. And today I have a recommendation collab for you. Today's recommendation is in collab with Jenn at the Book Refuge, and we are both going to share with you some single mom romances in honor of Mother's Day coming up soon. Single parent romances are one of my favorite tropes, and I was really hoping I would be able to give you like some diverse single mom recommendations, such as like a single foster mom romance or a single guardianship romance where a sibling or a cousin has gotten custody of children and is acting as the parent, or even a single dog mom and cat mom or plant mom romance or something like that. Unfortunately, I haven't read any of those. All I've read is single birth mom romances, so that is what I have to share with you today. I am rocking my dog mom shirt and my cat mom hat because I am a dog and cat mom. My first single mom romance recommendation is one that I have recommended before. I think it was in a Friends to Lovers romance recommendation video, which I will link down below. And that is The Other Brooks Boy by Diane Roth. This is one of my favorite romances ever. It made my top 10 books of the decade, so I highly recommend this one. I wish it would be available in paperback so I could own it, but unfortunately it's not. Kara is a single widowed mother, and she is struggling to raise her children, have a job, do all that after the death of her husband. But her brother-in-law, Greg, who is her deceased husband's brother, he is stepping up to really help her, be a shoulder to cry on, be there to help take the kids to their sporting events, and just help her ease that burden a little bit. They have been friends for a really long time. Unfortunately, Greg's brother is the one who asked Kara to marry him, and they did, and they had a family together. And so he never got that connection with her. He's just been a friend. And they enter into a relationship. However, because he is her children's uncle, she wants to keep their relationship a secret because she doesn't want her children to think that their uncle is replacing their father. However, her teenage daughter knows that her father wasn't the best husband to their mother. But her younger son, he is in that still hero worshiping stage where he thought his father could do no wrong. So when he discovers that his mom is now in a relationship with his uncle, he is rightfully upset with that, and they have to work around that. The chemistry here is so fucking great. Next up, I have Knocking Boots by Jordan Marie. So this is technically the 5th published book in the Lucas family series. However, I would recommend reading it first because this is Ida Sue and Jansen's story. In this, we are following Ida Sue, who is a very quirky character, and she's kind of known as the town whore, unfortunately, because she has a multitude of children and from several different husbands. So she's a single mom of all these kids who are well into their teens. I think the youngest is maybe a young teen, but some of them are even in their early 20s. And she's got a lot of them. She's got, I want to say, like 6 of them. So when Jansen shows up, he is this down on his luck cowboy who is just looking for some easy work. So he takes on the job of ranch hand to help fix up Ida Sue's land and the ranch itself. And in doing so, he takes a liking to her. He is extremely attracted to her, and he is determined to convince her that he is a good man. And he does this in a very subtle way of just treating her right, treating her kids right, being there when her kids need like a father figure for like sporting events to teach them how to do things, or being there to protect her daughters when her daughters have broken hearts or things like that. And he slowly is worming his way into her good graces and into her heart. This family is a little over the top. Like, all of her sons' names are colors, and all of her daughters' names are flowers. She is a very quirky character herself. She has like a pet cow named Hamburger. So while this is the 5th book that was published in this series, because the previous books follow her children as they're adults trying to find their relationships, and then you read her backstory, I would suggest reading it first because all the books up until that, they also show her and Jansen's relationship. And I do think that they have a very unique relationship in a romance story because they are never married. The next two books I have to share with you are from the same author, and the first is Something So Right by Natasha Madison. This is a hockey romance. This is about Parker, who is a single mom to 2 kids. She's trying to provide for her family while running this training facility that rehabilitates athletes. And one day, the golden boy of the NHL, Cooper, comes in and he has been injured, so he needs to use her facility to get back on track. And while they are there, he immediately is attracted to her. And when he finds out she's a mom, he is full force in it. He is like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be your husband. These are gonna be my kids. They do have a bit of a hate to love tension going on. I loved how he stepped up and was just like, I don't care if you have kids. I'm here for it. And he is a bit of a dirty talker, and I felt like the smut in this was pretty good. The other book by Natasha Madison is Tempt the Boss. This is a completely different series, but I would say that you should read her hockey series before you read this series, because some of the characters featured in the Something So series are side characters that make appearances in this series. This is an office romance story about Lauren and Austin. Lauren is a single mom. Her douchey husband cheated on her, and so they are divorced. And she's pretty much been a stay-at-home mom up until this point, so she needs to get a job. On her way to her new job, she gets rear-ended by this jerk in a fancy car, and he's yelling at her, and he's just being a douche. So when she shows up late to her job interview, who do you think her boss is? The jackass who hit her. He is insanely attracted to Lauren, but he doesn't want to be because he finds her annoying. But she ends up being hired because she is the best person for the job. And these two have a true enemies to lovers relationship. They set out to make each other's lives miserable by pulling these hilarious pranks on each other, one of which actually sends Austin to the hospital. So naturally, when that happens, she's out of a job. But he shows up at her house to like bring her some of her stuff, and he realizes that she's a single mom. And he doesn't know what to do with that because he doesn't know how to handle children. But he's attracted to her, and he wants to give a relationship a try with her when they aren't working together. She has a little girl who calls him Asshat instead of Austin. And I thought they had great chemistry. I thought the smut was really good. I loved the children in the story. I thought they were hilarious, and I liked his dynamic with them. And you'll actually see this book featured in another video I have coming out at the end of the month because of something in it that pertains to that video. So go check this out. The next single mom romance I have for you is a historical folklore romance, and that is Daughter of the Sea by Elizabeth Hobbs. So this is set in historic Britain off the coast in a little fishing village, and it features Effie, who is sort of like the town village outcast. Her grandmother raised her, and everybody thought her grandmother was a witch, and so she isn't treated the best. But she finds herself a husband, she gets married, she has a baby, and then her husband sadly dies. And her son has something different about him. She's trying to live the best life she possibly can in this village as a single mom to this child that everybody thinks is like cursed. When she is out walking one day and she finds this little girl along the beach, and she takes her in and she raises this child as her own as well. Until one day, this mysterious man named Lachlan shows up at her door claiming to be this baby's father. And he asks her to continue raising her, and he will show up twice a year and bring her something to compensate her for raising his daughter. So she does this. And throughout the years, he returns twice a year, and they start to grow closer to one another. And he starts to stay for longer periods of time. But she needs to find herself a husband. And Lachlan, while she's attracted to him and she has great chemistry with him, he's not a very stable person in her life. And so she ends up sort of dating this other man. And then when Lachlan comes back, he sees this and he realizes that he needs to make a choice between staying with Effie and helping to raise his daughter and her son, or leaving altogether and taking his daughter with him. I loved this story for the historical vibes. I also loved it because it involves Selkie folklore. Lachlan and his daughter are Selkies, and I loved that. I love Selkie folklore. Up next, we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. So this is a story of Yasmin and Josiah, who are divorced. They have 2 kids together, a boy and a girl. She is in her early to mid-teens, and the boy is a little bit younger. But they divorced because of something tragic that happened in their life. But they're still co-parenting, they're still running a restaurant together, and they're still insanely attracted to one another. But they're at that point where they feel like they need to move on from one another. So they both start seeing other people in the hopes that they will get past this attraction that they have for one another. I loved this story. I actually did I think I did a recipe and review for it. I will link it down below if you want to go see like my entire thoughts on this story. But I loved the chemistry between these two. It was so hot. I love that these two are very mature in the fact that they can still be great parents. It's their second chance romance of coming back together and realizing that they are who each other belongs to. But she is single in this book, so I'm counting it as a single mom romance. Next up is an older one, and that is A Vampire Interrupted by Lindsay Sands. This is book 8 or 9 in her Arjanu series, which is a vampire paranormal romance. So I don't recommend starting with this book, but it is a single mom romance and I really enjoyed it. In this, we are following Marguerite Arjanu, who has paired off all of her children to their life mates because this is a fated mate situation. And she has just started a new job as sort of like this investigator. So she sets out to Italy with her business partner to try and track down the missing mother of her client. And when she gets there, she runs into this man named Julius, and she is immediately drawn to him. And Julius knows that she is his life mate because they have a history together, but Marguerite has no memory of it. This is one of the books in the series that actually made me cry. I did do a reread of this series, I think in 2020, and I still loved this book. I still gave it 5 stars. And the last single mom romance I want to share with you isn't technically a romance, it's more a literary fiction, but it has a single mom and a romance in it, so I'm gonna count it. And that is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. So in this, we are following the Waverly sisters, who come from a family with some very magical powers amongst them. And while Claire Waverly stayed in her family's home and really embraces the magic that she has, her sister Sydney left. And she traveled around and she eventually got pregnant. She has a daughter. And in this story, she is trying to escape an abusive relationship and try and return to the family home where she knows that she can provide her daughter with a safe and stable upbringing. However, when she returns to this town, she isn't really welcomed with the most friendly of attitudes because people don't like her. They think she's flighty and she's gonna steal away their husbands. So nobody treats her the best, except for this young man who did treat her the best when she lived there as a teen. And she re-encounters him, and he's a very shy, very down-to-earth, very grounded person. But she doesn't feel like she is the best match for him because she is so flighty and she is adventurous and she doesn't want to put down roots. But she ends up discovering that he is exactly the kind of person that she needs. So while the romance of this book is pretty secondary to the overall plot, and there's really no smut in here, I still really enjoyed the single parent romance that was in this story. So those were a few of my favorite single mom romances. Let me know down in the comments if you have a single mom romance recommendation for me. Or if you don't have any of that, could you just leave me the baby feet emoji if you've made it this far in the video? And I will have Jenn's channel tagged down below as well as her recommendation video linked, so go check out the recommendations she has for you. And thank you, Jenn, for wanting to collab with me on this recommendation. And until my next video, thank you so much for watching and have a great Mother's Day, whether you're a mom of a 2-legger, a 4-legger, a 6-legger, a plant. Have a great Mother's Day. And never let anyone tell you that being a plant mom, a dog mom, or a cat mom is any less of value than being a mom of a tiny human. Because as long as you are providing love, safety, security, time, and energy into raising a soul, you are a mom, in my opinion. So have a great one and go read a single mom romance for me. Bye.